Hi everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. This is the weekly horror discussion and podcast in which we pick a horror film every week and we talk about it. We discuss it, we tear it to shreds, we love it, we praise it. One of those things. Or we're horrified. Some of those things. Anyway, so with me this week is Tim.
Yep.
And Joseph.
Bonjour.
And Kevin.
1 month to the visit.
Don't remind us. Why?
1 month to the visit. M. Night Shyamalan's
masterpiece.
That's not the word for it.
That's one way to call it.
What's that word when an artist has like that one piece that is like their
Magnum opus.
Yeah, magnum opus. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So this is Screams After Midnight, the horror show from the Mild Fuzz podcast network. And this week we are going to talk about The Gift, which is a new release. It came out on Friday. We all went to see it. None of us liked the trailer, I don't think, but the reviews were positive.
It's okay.
Reviews made me interested.
I mean, it was like, it was decent. It wasn't horrible.
It didn't make me want to see it though. It was just kind of like, But reviews were getting kind of positive, and we were all interested to go check it out. So we did. I think several of us actually seen it right after Fantastic Four as well. Without spoiling the quality of The Gift, I will say that we probably all felt like it washed the bad taste out of our mouths after Fantastic Four, because terrible. But yeah, so let's talk about The Gift. The Gift is written and directed by Joel Edgerton, who's also in the film. This is his directorial debut in terms of feature length. And confessions up front, this isn't really a horror movie. And we kind of knew that going in. Like it seemed like it might be more of a thriller, and it definitely was. There was a couple of moments where it felt like it was maybe going down more of a horror path. And we'll get to that just in a little bit later. But we'll get into this right now, and as always guys, full spoilers for the film that we are talking about. If you have not seen it, come back later, or if you don't care about spoilers, then I don't understand you as a human being, but enjoy the show. So, The Gift. So you've got Joel Edgerton as, what's the names here? As Gordo. And of course Tim remembers.
Gordo the Weirdo.
Gordo the Weirdo. And we've also got Jason Bateman and Rebecca Hall, who play a married couple who moved to California from Chicago, because he's got a fancy new job at a security firm. So I couldn't remember what his job was, but he works at a security firm, and he runs into Joel Edgerton's character Gordo while they're out shopping for new stuff for the house, and he ends up sending them a gift and starts sending them messages and showing up at the house and trying to be really friendly, and is a little bit creepy at times, or at least overly friendly. He's not creepy like Mark Duplass was in Creep. He's not quite like that. But
very close to me though, at least. Very close.
I wouldn't quite put him in that category. And it's not that the performance is any less great by Edgerton, because he's quite good.
He's more awkward than creepy, I thought.
Yeah, he's someone who doesn't know how to interact with people, rather than someone who is clearly weird, at least from the get-go. So yeah, let's talk about The Gift. Let's talk about what people thought about it. The only person... Actually, no, I know roughly what Tim's thoughts in, so I'm going to go to the other two guys first. So Kevin, just without getting into too many plot details, what did you think of The Gift overall?
Actually, I was totally surprised by The Gift because, as you said from the trailer, it was just nothing special, and I was confused as to why Jason Bateman was in a horror film, or what I thought was to be a horror, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought that the atmosphere was pretty good. I thought that the performances by all the people, especially can't remember the actor's name, but the girl who plays Robin, I think she's
Rebecca
really
Hall.
good. Yeah, Rebecca Hall. I think she excelled in her role. I think Joel Edgerton did a really good job as Gordo the Weirdo, and I enjoyed it.
Alright, okay, good. I'll ask Tim next, since Joseph's dealing with baby stuff. By the looks of it.
He doesn't want to go to bed. He wants to participate.
So what did you think?
Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit. Yeah, the acting was good. The atmosphere was cool, and it kept me interested and entertained throughout. There's I don't know how long it is, maybe about halfway through, where I'd say the tables kind of flip, and you kind of start feeling differently about some characters and stuff. And I thought it was pretty interesting the way, I knew there's probably something up between Jason Bateman's and Joel Edgerton's character, but like I didn't really know exactly, what it was. And when you kind of find that turn and the tables kind of flip, I thought it was an interesting dynamic that you don't really, or at least I haven't really seen too much portrayed before. And I thought it had kind of a interesting ending.
All right, cool. Joseph, how did you feel about it?
I very much enjoyed it. It was a very interesting debut from Joel Edgerton. I felt that it was actually very tightly written, a tight script. I didn't feel it dragged at any moment. And while you kind of tell there was what kind of twists were going to come, the exact twists and turns, they still took you by surprise. They let you enjoy the ride throughout the film. As Tim said, that very open-ended ending, just to end on that note, have you leave the theater still feeling the uneasiness. I'm very impressed with this debut from Joel Edgerton.
Alright, cool. I kind of echo most of the same thoughts. I quite enjoyed it. Tim mentioned tables turning halfway through the film, and for me that's when it kind of got more special. I mean, it was fine up until that point. It was well acted and it had some great sequences, but for me that was the point where it became a lot more interesting. Because
it became a lot more than just like a creepy stalker movie at that point.
Yeah, that's because it almost became a horror movie, because there was a couple of sequences, and this is credit to Joel Edgerton as a director. There was actually 2 jump scares in this that actually properly made me jump.
Yeah, actually my theater had I was at a packed theater, and there were huge reactions for both of those. Of course, I'm thinking you're talking about the dog.
The dog at the
shower.
The dog in the shower, because the dog at the front door, because they had that glass sort of wall essentially, because it was just like all glass for that wall. Like that was creepy the entire film, because I'd hate to live in a house where you could constantly see outside at night.
Yeah.
Because to me it's just asking to creep yourself out, because you're just going to think you see things all the time. But that made everyone jump, and then the other one that made everyone jump was when she wipes the steam off the glass, and he's just there. Well, it turns out to be a dream, of course, but I mean.
Yeah. I think it was that second one. I don't know if you guys can actually see, but I got a bruise from
Shit.
my girlfriend was like holding my arm, and when that happened, she squeezed so fucking hard.
Can I see that again?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see that.
That's
How
really
was
prominent.
She had it like wrapped around in her arm. Her fingers were kind of digging into it.
Jesus Christ. That looks like you've been hit with like a golf ball from like a considerable distance. Jesus. Yeah, so I had those 2 jump scares, and obviously it had some creepy moments around there, but other than that, it wasn't actually, like we say, a horror movie. It was more of a thriller. It was more about, and even a bit of a drama in a lot of ways, because so he starts leaving messages and presents. They agree to go to a dinner party with him, and they're impressed with his house, but it turns out it's not really his house. He just kind of snuck in there because his employer lives there, and that's all fine and well. And they'd have the sort of breakup with them, and then Joel Edgerton's character sends them one final letter saying, "Look, fair enough, I'll stay away, but I thought after all these years, bygones would be bygones." And unfortunately, that was in the trailer. They spoiled that in the trailer, and you knew there was going to be a turn of some kind. Now, you didn't know exactly where the turn was going to lead to, which was nice, but you did know there was going to be a turn, and that was a shame. But
I think there's a good point too, where at some point in the movie, the wife character Robin, she actually mentioned what I thought the turn was going to be, where like they might have had like some past together, because they allude to like Jason Bateman's character, spreading this rumor that he was like molested in a car and stuff, which then at that point, like something weird was happening. And I don't know if you guys were thinking it, but I was thinking, oh, maybe he had something to do with that. And even the wife kind of suspects that at some point too.
Yeah, you've kind of jumped ahead, but yeah, when she talks to, she eventually, like, she gets kind of like really paranoid almost, like she starts not to trust her husband so much, especially when she finds that he's got like files and stuff, and he's been like doing like, because he works for a security firm, he was able to do like searches and find records and all that sort of thing. And when she finally gets a chance to talk to his sister about it, and she tells him about he was molested in a car, and it was the husband and a couple of friends that reported it. And Rebecca Hall does bring up, were you the one in the car that was molesting him? Which is, I think, as an audience, is where you think it might be going.
Yeah.
But it's not. It actually turns out to be much more simple than that. It turns out to be a rumour that he'd started for no reason. And it basically tore this guy's life apart, because he got picked on for being gay at school, which I'm sure still happens, but it would have been even worse in, the early 80s, whenever this would have been, depending on their ages.
Yeah.
And to the point where his dad beat the shit out of him because he thought it was gay.
Tried to burn him, yeah.
Tried to burn him, yeah. So pretty
Which
dark
then his
stuff.
dad had to go to prison and.
Yeah. And it basically, it just set his life down this path, and you're basically sort of it turns into a movie of discovering how much of a prick Jason Bateman's character is, and how awful a human being he is, and how he tries to cheat people out of promotions at work so he can get the promotions. He's very two-sided,
fabricates some information of a previous job.
Yeah, but the point being that he, like, it's really a deconstruction of his character, and how it's really about his wife finding out who she's married. Like, she thinks he's this nice guy because he seems nice and all that, and they've been together for presumably a few years at least. But in reality, he's actually this vindictive, lying bastard who will do anything and screw anyone over to get what he wants.
I thought it was really well done because, like even early on in the movie, I think you can kind of see hints of that. Like, he's very like, he doesn't really seem like a prick at first, but he is like kind of very like controlling and stuff. Like, there's that one scene where like they're having the dinner and she offers Gordo another glass of wine, and then he goes to the kitchen, like, he's like, that guy's had enough. And he seems very like kind of alpha male, control the situation. And then, like, as it further and further it goes, you find the extent to which he's willing to like get what he wants, and kind of how he justifies things in his mind. Like, he never sees himself as a bad guy or anything in any of these situations, really.
Yeah, it's all about his wife sort of realising he's a bully. And it's interesting because she sympathises with Gordo a lot throughout the movie, until he gets a bit creepier. But even then, she's still doubting if he's actually that bad a guy. And to me, the highlight of the film is actually the scene where she makes him go and try and apologise and tell him, I did this years ago and I'm sorry. So he meets him. It turns out because for the whole movie, actually, I was wondering what the guy's job was. Like, where does he work? What does he do? And then it turns out he like does like quizzes and stuff and like bars, and he's like just like a sort of really low rent showman. And
it said earlier in the film that he would drive those rental limousines. He worked for the house.
Oh yeah, that's true. Well, I guess he
was probably gonna get fired.
Okay, I'm guessing he got
a job.
Yeah, I'm guessing he got a career change after that then. Understandable.
It was probably like a night gig or something.
Yeah. But anyway, so Jason Bateman goes to confront him in a parking lot and basically gives one of the worst apologies in the history of the human race.
Will you accept it?
And then he gets annoyed.
My apology?
He gets annoyed that he won't accept the apology for ruining his life.
Well, he says it's a little too late because everything he wanted to do has already happened.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
And this is the highlight. This scene's the highlight for me because this is where you feel nothing but sympathy for Gordo, because Jason Bateman basically throws him to the ground and treats him like scum, as if he is back in high school or junior high or whatever, and is just a complete bully.
Yeah.
And it's awful. It is absolutely despicable, and it's kind of, to me, it was like, okay, I see what this movie's doing now. This is quite interesting. It's flipping who I think the villain is completely on its head.
I found like those kind of scenes, like they almost felt like a little too real in my and I thought like I don't know, I found it harder to watch than like most of the movies we watch where like some dudes like just lobbing off some guy's head or something.
Well, yeah, but that's why I think it was good though. It was well done because it made you feel uncomfortable because this is wrong, this is bad, and because bullying is such a real thing in the world. Not that people don't kill each other in the world too, they do, but every school probably has at least a few bullies. Like that's just the sad truth.
And to see like them as adults doing it is so much like more off-putting. Like, oh, you really should know better.
Yeah.
But this scene gave us my favorite line in the whole film, and it was Gordo. He said, "Will you accept my apology?" Simon says, "Will you accept my apology? Will you accept my apology? Accept my apology." And then Gordo says, "It's too late for that." And then he's like, "Explain this." And he says, "You may be done with the past, but the past is not done with you." And he sort of just closes the boot. I think it's really cool. I think it's my favorite line in the whole film.
We've got a cameo.
You won't go to bed. I'm so sorry.
But so he goes back to his wife and he lies and says, yes, he took it very well. He took being pushed to the ground and humiliated very well. So this to me is where it got really interesting, because from here on it's really about how this guy's going to get his just desserts. Like everything's going to unravel for him, because he gets the promotion that he screwed someone else out over, and the guy that he screwed over and told lies about to get the promotion shows up at the house and like throws a brick at the window, smashes everything, and starts screaming about the lies. And you can see it in his wife's face; she believes every word of it. Like she's already lost every ounce of respect and trust that she's ever had for him, and everyone else is starting to realise. And he finds out, like, that's when, because she's pregnant at this point, she goes into labour. He finds out at the hospital while she's just given birth that he's getting fired for being a lying scumbag.
Then goes his wife and finds out she's leaving him.
Yeah, finds out that she's like done with him. Like she's wants a divorce. That's all done. Everything's unraveling.
Worst day ever.
And I love how he like took it too. Like he didn't accept it at all. He would just be like all right, we'll talk about this.
Yeah, we'll talk about this later.
There's nothing to talk about. He's like, well, I'll call you later.
Oh god, yeah. So to me, like everything up until this point is pretty damn great. It got greater as the film went on, and I really liked when the tables flipped and it became about Jason Bateman's character and how much of a horrible person he was. Now, to talk about the ending, we have to backtrack a little bit to a scene that took place in the middle of the movie, because Rebecca Hall's character actually faints at one point in the movie, and she wakes up, and then we find out later she's pregnant. And we don't connect those two instances right away, but we find out later, of course, Gordo finally sort of strikes his last little... Because what I liked up until this point, at the end of the movie, was you kind of got the feeling that he had just left and stopped like harassing him, like he'd been asked to. Like he wasn't even doing anything. Everything that had happened after the breakup, as it were, that could have involved him was just speculation.
Yeah.
And I liked that. But Gordo did show up at the end, and he did have one sort of last card to play. So Bateman goes home and he finds a package with various things in it. He finds the audio recording of them talking at not Gordo's house, but the employer's house, which, by the way, I totally called that was being recorded.
Yeah.
When they were like...
Same.
I just got that
I didn't
feeling.
see it coming.
It's like he left them alone on purpose, and then he started making fun of him and all that, and I'm like, he's recording this. He's
especially after seeing the Gordo, the weirdo on the tablet. Yeah, he knows how he feels. He's just getting evidence.
Yeah. And he leaves him a sort of not a crib, but a carrier, one of the sort of portable buggy things. And I'm sorry, I don't have a kid. All right, is that a car seat? I can't remember.
It looked a little like one. It looked a little long for one, but yeah, it's usually what a car seat looks like. Yeah,
I look a letterbox for a baby. So that he leaves all this stuff, and of course he watches the video, and it turns out that Gordo actually drugged the wife when she fainted like a year ago, and we see him in the room. Well, he's wearing a mask, but I mean, we assume it's him because why not? And we see him sort of standing over her fainted body. And it sort of implies that he might be about to rape her, and that maybe the baby that she's just had is his. Now, for me, this is where it gets a little bit fuzzy for me in terms of quality and how much I enjoyed it, because when he rushes back to the hospital and Gordo phones him, and they're sort of talking to each other, and he says, you know, you never told anyone that I wasn't actually gay in high school. I got tormented for that, but I'll do what you never could. I'm going to tell you, yeah, I never touched her. The baby's yours, or is it? And he lets it just sort of linger in his head, and he just won't tell him. And that's how we sort of leave the movie. Is that, you know, Jason Bateman goes back to the looking at his wife with the baby. The curtain shuts, and it's really symbolic because it's like her being shut out of his life because she doesn't want anything to do with him. And then he just like falls to the floor crying, you know, and that's the end of the movie. And don't get me wrong, I like it. I kind of love it and hate it at the same time. And the reason why I have some reservations about it is because I was so sympathetic towards Gordo for the second half of the movie that I really don't
want
like
him to have done something so bad.
Yeah, I really don't like the idea that he actually did rape the wife. I preferred the idea that he was actually a good guy. Awkward, sure, but he was actually a good guy. And obviously we don't know, it's ambiguous, and that's fine. That's what I like, ambiguous endings when they're well suited. But it actually really left me unsettled that he might have done something so awful, because I was on his side for this entire second half of the movie.
I firmly believe that, like, obviously it's open ended either way, but I firmly believe that he didn't do it, because he mentioned something about like, oh, see what like, something like, see what happens when you plant a little doubt in someone's mind. So I don't know. I felt like his whole point was, he's like, all right, well, I'm gonna do what you did to me, like, which it basically is, I'm not gonna do anything, but I'm gonna plant the thought that maybe something happened, and that's what will ruin your life. Like, obviously you can make a case, like, you know, that he did do it or didn't do it, but that's how I kind of like, at least I to me that's what it felt like happened, which I think is like a great idea, like showing like how much that kind of doubt can affect someone.
Yeah, thematically that certainly makes sense. But of course, he does say you can see it. You can tell who the father is by looking in the eyes. They say, right?
Yeah.
So that's what he does before the curtain closes. You can see him just staring at the baby's eyes, and I'm like, he does kind of have that Joel Edgerton stare about him. He's like really creepy right now. Kevin, how did you feel about the ending?
I really like the ending. I would like to say that, you know, Gordo didn't do it, and he was just a good guy, and although a bit mad in the head, but, you know, he's a good guy, he didn't do it. But I sort of like the idea that he might have done it, and that sort of there is this darker streak to him. I don't know, I just think that's more interesting to his character. Just sort of...
I disagree. I think it's way more interesting in the movie if he is actually just a socially awkward guy who's made some mistakes but had his life ruined by the true evil, and the true evil was Jason Bateman's character. To me, that's a lot more interesting, because it's very much a societal thing where you see Jason Bateman's character who's got a wife, he's got a good job, you expect him to be a good man because he's that sort of perfect, you know, cliched success story. Yeah. But he's not. He's got this ruthless side to him, and he's only achieved that by being this awful person behind the closed doors, as it were. And someone who wears their heart on their sleeve a bit more is completely ridiculed and seen as being weird. And I like that sort of analysis of the film, because the wife very much sees it that way throughout a lot of the movie. And I like that. I like that she is actually a lot more like Gordo than she is like her husband.
Yeah.
I feel really bad for the wife, because she seems like really, really nice, and she's like caught up in this weird like game of revenge.
Yeah.
I was looking about it a bit online, and like a lot of people said they really did not like the ending, because sort of it was just people, just protesters who were like, the woman is being used as a vehicle to sort of progress this game of revenge, and they were going at it as like a social viewpoint. I don't really care about that.
I can see that point of view, though. I think they have a valid point, especially at the end. Will you tell her, or should I?
Yeah.
The fact that such a traumatic event could have happened to her, and her not even be aware of it because of their game. I can understand their little point on it. I may not agree 100%, but I can see where the point is coming from.
Yeah, I can see where they're coming from with that. I think...
Yeah.
I get a little bit frustrated though when people point out social issues in movies though a lot of the time, because it's like, well, okay, yes, that is an example, but that doesn't necessarily mean the filmmaker's trying to say anything.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the best way of phrasing this. I don't think
you end up hating both guys because of the story. I mean,
yeah.
You don't have to feel that the whole film was ruined because of that issue. You can kind of take that issue and say reasons why you aren't sympathetic to either guy, and only Robin leaves the film being a good person.
Yeah, she's the sympathetic one throughout.
Yeah.
You always feel bad for her. You're always on her side, and she is very much the protagonist.
Yeah, most of it I felt came from her point of view as well.
Yeah.
She's very much the audience's window into this, so she's kind of the neutral, regular kind of person, I suppose, for the audience.
She unravels the mystery with the audience.
Yeah, exactly, to like see everything, and by putting her in jeopardy, and maybe that's why I feel so sort of disgusted at the end when I think he might have raped her, because she represents us. So it's like this more deep-seated like do we feel violated because she was our conduit, you know? To me that's just a good technique, as opposed to making some kind of statement. But
credits Joel Edgerton for his debut.
Yeah, I think it was well written, and I think it was even better directed. It was a lot of subtle touches in the direction that I really appreciated.
Interesting first film for him though, to go this route. I want to see more.
Yeah, maybe he's just got a dark streak in him.
Blame
Also,
Revenge of the Sith.
Is he in that?
He's Luke's uncle that Obi-Wan gives Luke, the baby Luke to.
Oh shit.
Well, his career has improved since then. I'll say that much.
Also, should definitely give some big props to Jason Bateman. He really showing off his acting chops here. Like, I think I don't know about you guys, but when I look at him, I mostly think of Michael from Arrested Development.
Yeah.
And this is like a completely different.
To be fair, he's played that in almost everything he's done. He's basically he's basically been typecast as the straight man while he's surrounded by a lot of like funny people. It's actually kind of nice to see him in something different where he gets to have a different side to him, and we get to see a different shade of him as an actor.
I think he definitely blew it out of the water. Like he was like I don't like I really believed him as like a fucking prick.
Yeah, pretty much. So does anyone else have anything to say before we get to ratings?
Yeah, I was thinking about this as I was leaving the theater. Another thriller from last year, where it has very different themes, but I had that same level of uneasiness, and I was just trying to see where you guys might put it head to head against this. Gone Girl.
Okay.
Well, I mean, like I said, very different themes, but I had a very similar feeling of uneasiness throughout. I kind of liked The Gift more, just because I felt The Gift was a bit tighter. Didn't seem to drag as much. Gone Girl, I had to wrestle myself for a little bit, but I just kind of give a slight edge to The Gift.
Well, keep in mind, guys, we're only on spoilers for The Gift, so don't spoil Gone Girl for anyone.
I did.
Just before we say anything else, I will say I prefer Gone Girl, because without spoiling anything, I think that created one of the best villains we've ever had in movie history.
Yeah, especially the ending.
And I think I love how that unsettles people, that movie, and I love how it talk about a movie that turns the tables halfway through. That is a movie that really turns the tables halfway through. And I can see why you can compare them for that reason, actually, because it does.
Maybe Joel Edgerton even took inspiration from Gone Girl. I don't know.
The book, well, he would have been already working on this by the time the movie came out.
Well, the book though had already been out for a while too, though.
Yeah, well, maybe.
I really like them both. I don't know if maybe a slight more edge to Gone Girl, just because I'm a really big Fincher fan. Although I will say, like maybe like the first 40, 45 minutes of Gone Girl, I found a little boring. I actually just watched it recently, so it's kind of fresh in my mind. I was a little bit bored at the beginning, but once you do get that turn in it, I was like really, really hooked into that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, from there it gets really fascinating and
Yeah.
you know. But anyway, we're on The Gift then, so let's get some ratings done. And well, let's have a nice one. How many smiley faces out of 10? Because we didn't mention it, but in the movie, Gordo always puts a smiley face at the end of his letters. So Kevin,
Or sad face.
or sad face, depending on his mood. This is a prequel to the Emoji Movie that's coming out in a couple of years. Kevin,
You could
how many
angry at
smiley
me.
faces out of 10?
I'm gonna give it a 7.5 smiley face out of 10. I really enjoyed it. It was a great directorial debut from Edgerton. Like I said, the pacing was good. The atmosphere was great. The performances were very good. 7.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed it.
All right, Joseph, how many smiley faces out of 10?
Well, Atticus and I say Simon says 8.5 smiley faces out of 10.
Tim?
It's a good question. I think I'd probably give it a 7. I did like it a lot. I think the only thing that loses some points for me is I don't know if I'd ever really feel the need to rewatch it again. Like a lot of the movies that I really like that I would give like an 8 or a 9 or even like 10 like are stuff that I would want to watch like over and over again, and this I enjoyed, but I'm like I don't really need to see it again, or at least not for a while.
All right. I'm going to echo some similar numbers here. I'm going to go with a 7 smiley faces out of 10 as well. Maybe even 7.5 at a push, actually. But I thought it was a great debut from Joe Egerton. I thought, like I say, the performances were good, the pacing was good. I loved the script once the tables flipped. I thought that second half was really, really interesting. It really was an interesting sort of character, sort of drama, amidst sort of thriller setting. I am really curious to see more of his work in the future and see what else he does. I think his future behind the camera will be a very interesting one to watch. And let's hope he does a horror movie next time, because those jump scares really scared the shit out of everyone. So he's got it in him. He's got it in him. All right, so that is The Gift. We all generally like that. I think the average there works out to be about like 7.2 or something like that. That's my rough math in my head.
It ain't bad.
Oh,
It ain't bad at all. We should
also,
well.
the house in this was very nice. I like the house.
Kevin liked the house.
Oh,
Okay. Thank you, Kevin. More real estate from Kevin next week on Screams After Midnight. And yeah, last week when we were talking about the haunting, he's just like, it's a mansion, whatever. It's a mansion. Alright guys, that's been The Gift. Although one thing I actually do hate about this is that it's got the same title as a movie that isn't that old, because a movie
That
came
Sam
out.
Raimi movie?
Yeah, Sam Raimi,
Yeah.
2000, The Gift came out, and it really annoys me when there's like exact same titles for completely different movies, especially when they're so close together. It's like, come on guys, like call it something else.
Also, it's not like I don't know. It's not like The Gifts were such a big, huge part that is like, well, it has to be called this.
Yeah.
Like,
Like you could actually
Creek
call
was
this.
already taken.
You could have called this Gordo. That'd have been a fine name.
Yeah,
I think Gordo would have been a good name for this.
or what was it?
I think
you
gives
call
me
it?
more straight to DVD, straight to Redbox kind of vibes,
Yeah.
though.
So is The Gift.
Could do like you do like friendship breakup or something.
All right.
Unfriended. Oh wait, okay.
All right, don't hire Tim to title your movies, guys. That's one thing we've learned today. Next week, we will be talking about Sinister. So tune in for that, because the week after that, Sinister 2 is out, so we're going to talk about Sinister 2 when that's released. So we're talking about Sinister next week, so make sure you tune in for that, guys. But if you want to find everyone here elsewhere on the interwebs, Kevin, where can people find you on social medias?
You can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at momoguy123.
Cool. Joseph?
I can be found on Twitter and Letterboxd at jcoller_93. you might see a couple reviews working towards a top 100 films all-time list.
Yes. Tim, where can people find you?
I'm on all social media at Tim Vargulish. You can also check out my comic book stuff, facebook.com/GoatmanComics, and on some of the other podcasts here on the Mild Fuzz Network, including Hellraisers, the Hellblazer podcast.
That's how he introduces every single episode of that, in case you've not heard it. You can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, on Letterboxd, and on Tumblr, where I do written movie reviews and random articles to suit myself. All at Wibble89. All these are down in the description on YouTube as well, if you want to see them in text in case we mumble them out. You can also find me on other shows here in Mild Fuzz, such as the TV podcast, the movies podcast, that's 1.21 gigawatts, Almost Cancelled, and other stuff. Also, if you want something good to watch, it's only 5 minutes long. John Skinner, one of our Mild Fuzzers, got drunk recently watching Batman Forever. He recorded the process for everyone's enjoyment, and I edited it into a 5-minute video. It is well worth watching. It is deeply amusing, so check that out on the YouTube channel. But otherwise, guys, as always, sub it, like it, thumb it, star it, whatever applies to whatever you're listening or watching this on. Well, that's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, whatever. And keep watching horror movies, guys, preferably good ones, and we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.
See you.
Let me get rid of Facebook, because that'll make noises and distract me and all sorts. And I'll get up IMDb just in case I need names.
Internet Movie Database.